Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the new moon in Sagittarius taking place on December 12th at 6:18 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This exciting new moon in Sagittarius lunar update video will be for the Lightworker Collective. Couple quick announcements. For actually, number one, every year I've taken a lunation off where I just don't post and process the energy on your behalf. I just process it for myself. I did that at the full moon in Gemini. So for all of you who are patient and wanted to stick around to hear what came after that, thank you. Very exciting to be able to continue forward with you guys. Second announcement, Star School is still open for enrollment. If you'd like to enroll, you can book at my website. I'll also leave the link below this video. Star School 101 Class 1 just dropped last Friday. Tomorrow on Friday, Star School 101 Class 2 will be available. So if you'd like to check that out, you absolutely can. I'd love to have you. Announcement number 3, there will be no private mentorship. In my reflection time, I took a step back and really assessed the format that I set up for the program. And there's a few format tweaks I'd like to make before making it available for you guys. So depending upon how those tweaks go into next year, we may have it next year, but I'll definitely keep you informed. As always, the private list will be first to know. And last announcement, readings for January are open. As promised, I said I would reopen readings for booking in December for the month of January, since 2023 has been sold out for a few weeks now. If you'd like to jump on my calendar, link is below this video. I'm over at kmoonastro.com. Would love to talk to you about the year ahead, the eclipses ahead, and any plans you have. Next year is going to be a major year for manifestation. So it's a great time to jump on my calendar to look at what that could mean for you. Okay, so this wonderful new moon in Sagittarius takes place right here at the 20th degree of Sagittarius, and our sign that represents truth, faith, hope, optimism, and some of our highest, our expression of our highest ideals. Okay. This new moon is also going to be conjunct Mars right there at the 13th degree of Sagittarius. And there, with fire sign Sagittarius and with Mars conjunct it, we get a significant energy of faith in action, acting on our truth, acting on our faith. We've got a square coming in from Neptune with this particular new moon. And it's actually a really lovely energy because there's a detachment from certain things that may have kept us from really seeing that higher truth or those higher ideals. There's a releasing and a letting go of certain things that may be stopping us from understanding who we really are, things from our past that have held us back, and we'll get into this in a minute. This Neptune energy is helping us wash away some of the illusion. Oftentimes, Neptune at a difficult angle, opposition, or square can cause a lot of illusion. But in this particular moment, we're getting Neptune washing away a lot of the pieces of the past that have caused us to, or prevented us from moving into much brighter futures. So this is really exciting energy to see as well. It can also be a little bit of disillusionment or disenchantment with current pathways or systems where they have failed to meet our striven for aims or our goals. This is our invitation into greater faith. And our recognition that we can do more, have more, we can be more than where we exist at now. With Neptune square Mars in particular, there is a call into more altruistic ideals, which is really exciting because, especially towards the end of the year, people are a little hectic or frenzied trying to get things done, moving into a new year before they take holiday time from work. That little extra bit of generosity or that extra bit of looking out for our fellow human, that can go a long way. With Mars square Neptune, we definitely have a lot of that just in the ether for us to consider at this time. So that's really exciting. There's with this a bit of not just inspiration, but upliftment. That can be borderline delusional. And I like that about this. Normally, delusions, we think of that as a bad thing, but delusions, illusions, and imagination, they're all the realm of Neptune. And when Neptune plays a major role at a lunation, we get the spectrum of just being straight up cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over here on the far side, and then like just visionary over here on the other extreme. And there's really not much difference because it's all two sides of the same coin. So I like to see this Neptune in action at this lunation because of the way, like I said, it's detaching us from things that we may have been attached to that may have held us back from some of those higher ideals and aspirations, and allowing us to really kind of dig into some like greater meaning for ourselves, greater meaning when it comes to the things we're seeing unfold here on planet Earth, greater opportunity to see the purpose and the interconnectedness of all things and all events. And I find that really perfect for a closing out of a year where we can go into a reflection period of time and really see that for ourselves. Gives us a break a bit from the day-to-day grind and some motivation with that Mars component, like I said, to work toward, not just hope for, a better future than we have now. Okay. We have a few additional influences here to this particular new moon that I really like to see. This new moon is trine Eris. Here's Eris in Aries here. Eris is an energy that brings a little bit of like righteous riot, righteous rage, where we've been left out or overlooked. Eris gives us the oomph to step up, step forward, take our seat at the table. We've got a trine as well to Chiron from this particular full moon, which I also like to see because the Chiron energy in trine brings forward more of Chiron's light. And in Chiron's light, there's tons of leadership and ownership of the ways in which we're different, unique than everyone else. And so, as we're really owning this sense of higher truth at this lunation and working toward higher truth, Chiron is just expanding it and saying, yeah, 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 go for it. You are different, but that's a good thing. Go for it. You are a little bit unusual, but that's the best part about you. So that influences it's Chiron's acting a little bit like a hype man at this new moon. And I think that's a lot of fun as we move into the tail end of the year and really start to think about, okay, what do we want to be different and feel different about next year? Kind of taking the lessons and the losses instead of thinking about them as just losses, thinking about them as lessons, really growing ourselves up into greater alignment with our higher truths here at this lunation. We also have a trine to the North Node sandwiched in between the two. North Node is in the mix, calling us toward our true selves here in Aries, which I love to see. As long as we've got North Node in Aries for the next year, we've got a real call into who we really are, self-acceptance. And we've got a major healing coming next year with this. because Chiron in the North Node will be conjunct for much of the first part of the year. And that's going to give us, and this energy is already open now, a ton of self-healing, ton of self-awareness, ton of self-acceptance, so that we can, again, there's this release of illusion. There's a release of, and simultaneously just enough delusion to be willing to step into, this idea is so crazy, it just might work. This version of me is so out there, it might just be who I really am, right? So a letting go of some of the traps we've set for ourselves when it comes to either being like other people or when it comes to being a version of ourselves that we've outgrown. This Chiron conjunct the North Node, and will get stronger next year, but the energy is definitely open now, especially at this new moon in Sagittarius. It's going to help us let go of a lot of that. We also have a square to Juno at this lunation. Juno is here inside of Virgo. And I like to see her there making a starring role, playing a starring role at this particular lunation. Again, squares can kind of bring out the shadow side of some of these lunations, but in this position from fellow mutable sign Virgo, that Juno energy is opening up an opportunity for us to reassess and re-examine who we've been in partnership, and if we really like what our partnerships are mirroring back to us. If we've been being a version of ourselves that we don't like or appreciate, we're going to see our partners treat us that way. We're going to see our partnerships be replicas of our self-treatment. So it's a really great time for some of that personal course correction. Again, as we move into this close of year reflection window, the last 30 days of the year, this is giving us an opportunity to really look and see, hey, where can I step it up? If I want to get something different, how can I be something different to cause it, right? Because we are always at cause in our lives. This combination of these, in addition to the Mars-Neptune influence, they add a temptation to take some of the pain of the past, some of the mistakes of the past, some of the disappointments and regrets, rejections and abandonments, with Chiron and Eris in particular in the mix. They invite us to, there can be a temptation to use these as fuel for clarifying the next step. But the challenge with building hope for the future based on pains from the past is that it's a setup to repeat the old pains. And so I want to make sure I explain this really well, this kind of concept of karma in the way that my guidance team explained it to me. The way they broke it down to me was that karmic loops or redundant cycles that people go round and round and round and have a lot to do with an inability to let go, inability to forgive, an inability to stand at cause in your life as the creator incarnate when it comes to what you've experienced. So let's say, for example, you've been through something that's hurt you deeply, and we all have, and it hurt bad enough where, we definitely can't forget, but it feels like forgiveness is out of the question. That's a setup for guaranteeing that whether it's in this life or another one, we have to go through that again. When we get deeply wounded, a piece of ourselves gets severed off, put away, set aside, until we go back and reclaim and remember that part of ourselves to the whole. That deep wounding, whether we've done something that caused harm to other people and created that wounding within them, which is also just creating it within us because we're all one, or we've received that type of deep wounding through an experience we've had with somebody else, that severance of self, it can't stand. All things in this realm in particular require, work toward wholeness and completion. So where there's a severed part, we always have to go back around the wheel and go back and get it. But when we are harboring hurt, pain, suffering, sorrow, regret, disappointment about something done to us or something we've done, that vibrational frequency, because of the way creation works, and we are creator beings incarnate, guarantees that through thought and feeling being harbored, that we go through a setup to loop back around to the exact experience where the severance happened and give us an opportunity to get back the part we lost through that moment. And so harboring hurt, pain, suffering, loss, harboring these things in sadness and grief without the act of forgiveness really guarantees that repetition of cycle. What forgiveness does, if you look at the root of the word forgiveness, right? What forgiveness does is it gives us the root, like not just like dictionary root. I'm talking about the etymological roots of the word, like what it meant back in the day when the word was originally first used. Its original meaning was to cancel a debt. Debt was owed, money was exchanged. Now you have to pay it back. But the lender says, you know what? You actually don't have to pay that back. Debt is forgiven. And so when we have these kind of hurts and we're harboring the pain, what's happening is we're basically, as creators incarnate, saying to life, saying to the universe, I am owed. I am owed something better, something different as a result of something lost, something given. And it's all just a process of trying to reclaim the part of ourself that got wounded and severed. That's all that's happening here. But when we don't forgive, the only way to get back what we're owed is to go through what got us to the place of being owed in the first place again. And this is why my guides explained it to me this way. They said, this is why forgiveness is so important, because it is the ultimate release from karmic loops and cycles. It is the guarantee that you can move on from a past that has hurt you. This is also why they said people will tell you forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about you and setting you free. But the freedom you're getting is from the guarantee of repetition, when in your creatorship, you're just holding on to the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, because that's what creates things, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. The freedom you're giving yourself is a release from that guarantee of repetition of pain, because you harbored the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of them. So with this energy, especially as Chiron comes into contact with the North Node, and at this lunation with Neptune speaking to this new moon of truth and faith and our highest ideals, and giving us an opportunity to wash ourselves clean of the past, wash other people clean of the past. You don't have to forget, although it's really very helpful, honestly, if you can. But if you can neutralize the memory so that when you think on it, there's no more charge, there's no more emotion to it. There's tons of processes for this. I won't get into all of that. Plenty of videos on YouTube, loads of workbooks out here, and books and teachers on compassion and forgiveness. You and Google figure it out. Y'all go find it. But this is the work of this new moon in Sagittarius. And as we go into next year, this is some of the opportunity for major reset for us. Okay. So that we can really be free of some of the karmic loops and patterns that we've brought into this moment. Those can come to full rest and completion. We can really step into something new, because 2023 has been really all about setting up new cycles. We've got Saturn and Pluto, both in brand new signs this year. And those two really kind of deal with karmic themes heavily. And endings and new beginnings. They both jumped into new signs this year, which is rare for them to do that at the simultaneously. So really utilize this to be intentional about what you want to let go of, and not utilize this to say, well, because I went through that, now I want this. What you really want to do is draw a line under what was and open a new chapter aligned with our higher hopes and dreams, free from the past, released from the old pain, where we're free to ask ourselves, well, there's still good life left to live. How do I want to live it? Not because of what happened, not in light of what's happened, not despite of or in spite of what's happened or happening, but rather, regardless of anything in the past, what do I want? That's the key. There's so much light and creativity within you. This period going into the first 4 months of next year is a very sacred time for visioning and creating and release intention setting for the next segment and season of your life, especially this new moon in the visionary sign of Sagittarius. I want to bring y'all into a date in the future that's going to be really important, because the setup for this important date is now. Now, next month, the following month, the first 4 months of next year, I want to show y'all a date that I've been looking at. And it's the new moon in Taurus of 2024, May 8th, 2024. There's some once in a lifetime energy going on this day. And I want to show you so that you can understand why I'm stressing the importance of this at this time. On this day, May 8th, 2024, we'll get Sun conjunct Moon. Moon will have already moved on by the time of the day I'm recording this now, so just ignore that. But it'll be Sun and Moon. That's a new cycle. It'll also be Uranus in the mix, and Uranus moves things at quantum speed, quantum level, quantum leap. Think skipping steps. It's the hand of divine intervention. This is basically like God coming down, putting his hand on your life or her hand on your life and saying, you know what? I'm taking you to the next highest level. But this is coinciding. Uranus typically brings surprises and newness. It coincides with two of the most harmoniously influencing planets joining in the conversations. We have Venus and Jupiter coinciding with Uranus at this time. Now, normally, Venus rolls through once a year. She's always talking to the sun when the sun is in a sign. Jupiter rolls through a sign once every 12 years. So that's pretty significant and special. Sun rolls through once a year. But the fact that it's Sun, Venus, Moon, and Jupiter and Uranus, Jupiter bringing expansion, faith, hope, optimism, and opportunity. Uranus bringing divine intervention. Venus being about luck, love, money, beauty, grace, and she's in her home sign, Taurus, right? This is like a blank check transit. Uranus takes 84 years to get around the wheel. Unless you are somewhere under the age of 10 right now, you will not see Uranus in the sign that deals with the desires of your heart. That's Taurus. You won't see Uranus in this sign again in this way, not with Jupiter. The last time Jupiter and Uranus met up in Taurus was maybe, I think, if I recall my research correctly, it was like 2001. And it was not in Taurus, it was in a different sign. So that they're going to meet up in the sign that deals with the desires of our hearts. All of us need to be preparing for this now. This is a major blank check from the universe, from God. It is a hand of the divine putting its hand on your life and saying, what do you want? You can have it your way. It is a winning lottery ticket kind of vibe to this. It is, you can have what you want, but you have to know what that is. And so this is what I mean by we all need to be preparing for this now. The energy of this is going to be with us as we open the year in January and just get stronger as we get into February and March, strongest April, May, and the beginning of June. So I'm putting this in your minds now, May 8th, 2024, because this blessing energy is going to bless us where we're standing. And this is why I'm telling you it's so critical, especially at this new moon in Sagittarius, to be preparing now, because there's a lot of fortuitous energy at this new moon, with Jupiter speaking to this new moon, Uranus speaking to this new moon. This is a time where we can put seeds in the ground, okay, and then reap harvest later. So what I mean by blessed where you're standing is this. You could be working in a grocery store, and your job could be bagging the groceries, and you could have a dream of, let's say, owning a car dealership or owning a hair salon, or your dream could be, I don't know, working in government, right? I don't know what your dream is. If you have taken no steps toward that dream between now and May, what will happen in May is that you'll just get a blessing in the grocery store. Maybe you get a raise. Maybe you're walking somebody out to their car and they hand you a $100 bill for a tip. You'll get blessings proportionate to the place where you happen to be standing. So if you want big blessings, you need to already be in place taking some bigger steps. You need to already have your car pointed in the direction you're trying to travel. You need to already be in motion on your dream so that life can bless you at that time period. And again, that's why I'm telling you this now, because the preparation, like, look, here's the deal. These stars, they're not going to come to your house, knock on your door, bang it down, drag you out of bed, put you in the church or the mosque or the temple with your love, your boo thing, and say, hey, now y'all get married. I pronounce you, wife and wife, husband and husband, husband and wife. You have to actually be taking steps. You need to open up that communication. You need to ask for forgiveness if it needs to be happening. We have to be in motion on the things that we want, that are the desires of our hearts. Okay. So I'm telling you that now because you've got plenty of time to prepare. Do not wait. Do not wait. I've spent all of November telling my clients who were in my calendar, if you met with me, I probably brought this date to your attention already. Like, get started. You got 5 months, get started. Now we've got, or 6 months. Now we've got 5 months. Keep moving. Right. So I wanted to make sure I drew your attention to that and really made sure I pointed out, like, don't base any of it on the past. Base it all on, like, if this was a clean slate, what would you want? Okay. That's the critical piece. All right. So this particular moment, we've got a lot of releasing going on, detachment from things past that no longer serve, ways of being, thinking, behaving, speaking. We are also in between two lunar eclipses, which opens up a closing portal. So the last eclipse we had on October 28th, the next eclipse we'll have coming up in March, they'll both be lunar eclipses. Lunar eclipses, full moons are closers, but lunar eclipses are heightened closures. So to go from lunar to lunar over a 6-month span lets us know that we're in a closing portal, a window of time where we can put periods on sentences, put away things from the past, let go and release, complete cycles, tie up loose ends with exes if you're trying to get with somebody new, but you're still kind of financially entangled with an ex, or emotionally entangled with an ex. This is a time to wrap it up, close it out, because there's big, big, big blessings coming in the sign of the desire of our hearts. And it will be once in this lifetime that we are going to see that. And that's in May. Okay. So within this, there's this like crackle, electricity, this energy in the air. A friend of mine once used the phrase potentiated state, where we've got all this raw material we can use to set the stage for anything we want to manifest. Love, money, a new job, a breakthrough in our health, a new home, successful passing of exams and graduation, or entrance into prestigious programs for learning. The sky really is the limit, but the planning, the organizing, the movement needs to happen in the next 60, 90, 120 days. Okay. That's the critical piece. We will be blessed where we are standing. So just make sure you're standing where you really want to be. Okay. Now, if you're ready to look at your year ahead, including this special blessing date and the house in your chart it will fall in, because that's in particular where the blessing will either come from or where the blessing will land. The house that Taurus hosts in your chart and governs in your chart. If you want to look at that, you want to look at the eclipses ahead, including some of the ways in which you can leverage and harness these to get to where you want to go in love or finances. Now's the time to jump on my calendar for a reading. Personal readings are available that first week of January and onwards, so we can look at your year ahead, how to work with your specific circumstances. Because I know some of you are really kind of caught up. I've spoken to a few people that are really caught up in some things that need to close out in order to partake of major blessings. If you need to talk about how to close something out, or where the resources are in your chart for releasing a cycle so you can have something new, or where the resources are to get something new, especially in love, Taurus kind of deals with that desire energy. Now's the time to book a reading so that next year does not have to in any way look like or repeat this year. Okay. There's some supporting planetary influences at this lunation, including Mercury speaking to Pholus in conjunction. Mercury not speaking to this new moon, but just also at this lunation, we see Mercury there. We also see a sextile to Saturn from that Mercury. Mercury is speaking to Saturn. And this really stresses the importance, I should say. This combination stresses the importance of keeping our thoughts positive, and to even exercise a bit of mouth and mind discipline, getting the mouth and the mind disciplined and under control. So with what we're thinking sets up our next step, and feeds our next step with some consistency, some effort. That's Saturn, that's Capricorn, that kind of step by that discipline, that effort to kind of step into things. And keep ourselves on a good path. There's also an indication with Pholus in the mix that negative thinking can rapidly get reinforced by our third dimensional circumstances, rapidly solidify anything toxic in us, can solidify into toxicity outside of us very quickly with Mercury and Pholus in conversation, speaking with Saturn as well through through Saturn and Pisces, but calling it out of that ether and into the earth sign of Capricorn, our dimension. You really want to make sure that you are not participating in your toxic behaviors, whatever you think they are or know them to be. We all need to keep it on the up and up. This is the time to really part ways with our own pettiness, part ways with, harboring hurt and resentment, undermining behaviors, that have historically prevented us from experiencing our highest. This is the time to let it go. Okay. This is the time to speak life, ruminate on life, and good things, and ruminate on light. This is the time for that. We also have Saturn in trine with Venus. Now here is Venus, and Venus is conjunct Pallas here. Pallas is our protector, and we've got some consistency and assistance with new beginnings in money and love, since Venus can really speak to both of those. This is helping us create new pathways forward by releasing old habits, old patterns in both love and money, and restoring wholeness in both areas as well. A lot of people are going to find a lot of peace after purging and releasing or completing financial obligations at this time, or love connection behaviors or agreements that aren't serving, even relationships that you may have outgrown, specifically because Scorpio deals with endings. The sign where Venus sits is the sign of endings and completion, shape shifting and transformation. Things that you've outgrown, this is the moment to really drop it, let it go. Like, stop picking it up, stop looking at it, stop talking about it, stop looking back on it, stop bringing it up in your conversations, stop ruminating and thinking about it. This is a time to really let go. Okay. Especially because the ruling sign or the ruling planet of Scorpio, where that Venus sits, Pluto here, he's wrapping up in Capricorn, and we've been on a resurrection cycle with Pluto over the course of 2023, where Pluto jumped into new sign for the first time in 14 years, jumped into Aquarius, retrograded back into Capricorn, and is finally now moving back toward Aquarius for a nice 20-year stay. So there's a true opening of a new cycle when it comes to our personal power with Pluto moving into a new sign. Anything passing through Scorpio, and all the planets will and do, at least all the personal planets at the for the year will pass through it. They all get reconditioned by this newness that Pluto's bringing to its home sign. They're getting an activation of Pluto moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. They're getting instruction to do something new, which means we have to do something new too in order to get something new. So that's really exciting as well. Pluto went through the ending, went through the integration process. Now that it's on the move forward again, we're on the resurrection side of this Pluto retrograde. So harness this energy to get newness in your financial life, in your love life, and really relish in that there's a lot of newness here, new opportunities for new behaviors with money, new behaviors with love. A lot of opportunity for that. Okay. Mercury is also being influenced by Jupiter from Earth sign Taurus here. And there's our friend Jupiter. And Mercury is being influenced by Chiron as well in a squaring fashion. What that Jupiter is giving us is some great ideas and some optimism. So we really get to choose. And this is always the thing with these planets, right? Astrology, if you've ever been sailing or or seen how a sailboat works, you really understand that that's how astrology works. The planets don't pick your destination. You do. Your job, our job is to adjust the sails according to the wind to ensure we get to our destination. Okay. And so there's wind blowing that could be blowing us off course. We talked about the negativity and the rumination and the thinking of the past that is here. We talked all about that. But there's also invitation to step into light and optimism and hope and faith. These planets, listen, if you adjust your sails in the wrong way, you're going to end up in the wrong place. You adjust them correctly, you're going to end up exactly where you want to be. You get to choose how your sails are adjusted, just like you get to choose your destination. All I'm doing is telling you which way the wind is blowing. Okay. So lots of optimism, and we can work with that. And this extends to Venus as well, as well as Jupiter, in opposition to that Venus, because they're bringing a touch of romance and returns on investment as cycles complete at this time. There's a really beautiful and significant energy as a starting point. Many of you are going to be able to look back and point to the tail end of 2023 as the period of time or the moment when everything changed, either financially or romantically or both. The romance part is very much highlighted by, let me move that out of the way, Juno here, and her conversation in trine with Uranus. And I like it. I like it a lot. Uranus is the original divine counterpart to Gaia. And so Uranus brings that quantum leap forward, that hand of the divine intervention. At this lunation, speaking to Juno, the wife planet, the partnership asteroid. I love to see it because this is letting us know that because they're speaking in harmony, many people at this time in the third dimension, because they're both in earth signs, Juno in Virgo, Uranus in Taurus, are getting the opportunity for up levels and romantic connection. So we're going to see confessions of love, proposals, getting engaged, moving in together, escalation and elevation in our love lives. This energy is very conducive to that through the full moon toward the end of this month. And with a Mercury retrograde coming soon in Earth sign Capricorn, for some of you, so Mercury's going to get out here, retrograde back, and then go forward again. As Mercury retrogrades in this fashion and then gets into trine, harmonious conversation with Uranus and with Juno toward the tail end of this month, for many of us, the retrograde means revisit, redo. This is going to be a second chance, a redo, or a part 2 or part 3 of something that started earlier this year that will now escalate or go to the next level in terms of partnership. Okay. So yeah, I'll love to see it. If you need any help figuring out how to work through this in your love life, in your business life, business partnerships, you can always book a reading with me over at kmoonastro.com during this period of time. Calendar just reopened. Next available readings are January 2023, 2024. The rest of December is sold out. So I would love to talk to you because this Mercury retrograde takes us into the tail end of January, as Mercury won't come out of shadow until that time. But Juno will still be in Virgo, speaking to Uranus. And because there's so much redo energy in the air, one of the challenges, but opportunities with this period of time, with this trine, one of the challenges and opportunities is to harness this to not repeat a cycle. So, like, what I said earlier about forgiveness is really important, really, really critical. Like, do not harbor thoughts, feelings, ruminations about what happened before. Give yourself and give whoever it is you may want a second chance with a clean slate, a redo. Okay. That's the critical piece of this. If you can do that, you're going to find that things go much smoother. But the trick is clean slate with new behaviors, right? You really want to make sure that you understand from your side of things why things went the way they did. And this is where knowing your chart and getting a reading can help. Because if things went a particular way and it wasn't the first time or the second time that things went the way they went, there's already a cycle in play. And if you don't know why that cycle is playing out that way or what to do about it, we'll start the new cycle and you'll just bring that old energy with you, guaranteeing a repetition. So if you're ready to really start something new with someone old or someone you already know, or you're stepping back into an arena that you've been in before, business partnership wise, but you need it to go differently, this Mercury retrograde, which will speak to an upcoming Juno retrograde, which are both speaking to our pal Uranus here, you want to understand what they mean for your chart and where in your chart this is rooted, so you understand how to get the best of things, right? Because for some of you it is childhood wounding, but not for all of you. For some of you it's like you just need better tools to deal with anxiety, or for others of you there's some self-esteem stuff that needs to happen and some self-forgiveness stuff, and still for others of you there's a different relationship with your body that you need to have, and your chart really illuminates all of this. So I'm over at kmoonastro.com. We can look at your chart and talk about the pattern and how to get out of it in a reading. Okay. I like to see this particular lunation because there's motivation to act differently now, act in alignment with our hopes and our faith and our optimism, all things that Sagittarius represents, and our highest truth. It's also a moment to turn our wounds into actionable wisdom, to really step to the light side of Chiron. Everyone wants to talk about Chiron and wounds, but on the light side of Chiron, Chiron was a teacher. Chiron really showed us who we really are. And so and like what we need to do to really access some of our greatness. And so with Chiron speaking to this lunation, the divine is really stepping it up and really showing us, hey, you're not as bad as you think you are. You're not unlovable. You're not a failure. You're actually really awesome. And here's why. And those whisperings into our heart at this moment are part of what this lunation is giving us to help us chart a new path forward. Okay. The Mercury retrograde is going to travel back to the 22nd degree of Sagittarius. Then it's going to go back to this 8th degree of Capricorn. And the retrograde will end on January 2nd, but I believe it starts on the 12th, if I recall. It'll start later in the day or in the evening on the 12th, if you're Eastern time. Might actually be the 15th, don't quote me. But it definitely closes out on January 2nd. So that's going to keep thematics from this lunation open. So all the conversation we had today about karma and forgiveness and clean slate, starting over, redo and refresh and money and love, washing away the past, all of these themes are going to really stay open until Mercury completes its retrograde cycle, because it's going to back up to basically right where this new moon is on January 2nd. And so we've got all of these thematics going on until the end of January when Mercury comes fully out of the retrograde zone. So, yeah, great time to really look at this stuff for yourself is the beginning of January, and keep this energy and these themes in your heart during this period of reflection at the tail end of the year. Okay. Because we have this Mercury retrograde coming up, it's really strongly recommended that if you have end of year travel, end of year shopping online to do, you triple check your receipts, triple check return policies, purchase the travel insurance. It's, if you're flying with an airline that has sometimes delayed or stranded passengers, get the travel insurance. Triple check your dates, triple check your cart. Just make sure that everything is the way you need it to be, because with the Mercury retrograde, some of the details can get a little lost at times. So just make sure everything you want is exactly how you want it before you do your online checkout, etc. And obviously, it goes without saying, use safe passwords, protect yourself online, all of the good stuff. So yeah, that is this lunar update. I forgot to mention in the announcements that this is the point where I do first look and give you guys a sneak peek at my first insights into the next lunation. So let's do that together now. Awesome. All right. So here is our full moon in Cancer, and it is at the 4th degree of Cancer. And this will be our very last lunation for 2023 together. My gosh, the year went by so fast before we get a new lunation, the first lunation of 2024. There's our full moon. This is my first time looking at it. So here are my first impressions. I see she's conjunct Vesta, and that's all about our dedication and our commitment to different things. I see that she is also, let's see who else she's in conversation with. Opposite Sun here, which is usual. Opposite Folis. Okay, we have a trine to Cancer, which is interesting. Okay. Or to Saturn and Pisces, to that full moon in Cancer. Uh-huh. Okay. And we have a conversation from Jupiter that's sextile. This is going to make this full moon in Cancer feel a little bit like a pregnant pause. When you have communication both from Jupiter and from Saturn, Jupiter likes to expand things, Saturn likes to cut off things that aren't in alignment or in integrity anymore, likes to sever those and move those out of the way so that you can have wholeness again. With both of those speaking to the like it might be a little bit emotionally all over the show. Could be a little emotionally intense, but not too intense. Like, I don't see any of the things that would make something feel like crazy, crazy, just like emotions running high in general. It also looks a bit like, there is some level of kind of like self-commitment, where maybe there've been some self-betrayal or something. This is like, here's what I promised myself I will never do again. That kind of thing. It's that kind of vibe to it. And a bit of optimism, like a bit of an emotional optimism, emotional lightness, emotional buoying, like lifting up, upliftment with Jupiter speaking to this lunation. So it's not overwhelmingly bad or overwhelmingly good. I think we're going to pass this lunation pretty unremarkably, unless you are already in the midst of moving big things in your life, which because I told you to prepare for May 8th next year. You should be moving some things in your life to get to where you want to be. So, but it looks like things really kind of like it's a smooth closing to the end of the year. It doesn't look too crazy. The only thing that has me a little gives me a question mark is this Pholus. With Pholus in the mix and Neptune square this Mercury and Neptune trine this Venus. The only thing I say is there's like a little potential for like maybe a little bit too much indulgence in things that have us kind of like come out of ourselves, or things that have us, how do we say, like, escape, like like you're gonna be a little bit too much like escapism with some of this, a little bit of maybe like too much, I don't know, like if shopping is your thing or drinking is your thing or some other substance is your thing or some, behavior like doom scrolling on the internet is your thing. There can be a little bit, or like, binge watching things. There can be a little bit too much of that in a way that can kind of have the end of the year feel heavier than it has to. So, put your resources in place for healthy, relaxation, healthy release, any kind of somatic work you can do will help, because it like just between there's just enough energy in water signs, which are about emotions, to have me looking and going, for those of you who are very emotionally sensitive, put some extra pieces in place, like get that massage, make sure you got your appointments with your therapist or that good friend, like know that you're going to need some extra time, maybe outside, that kind of thing. Okay. And we'll talk more about it when we get there. But super exciting. I like to see this for all of us. I think it's going to be a great end of year, a great roll into the beginning of 2024. For those of you who celebrate holidays at this time of the year, happy holidays. For those of you who do not, thank you for bearing with the rest of us, because I know we are loud. All these different cultures and faiths that have different holiday celebrations at this time of year. So yeah, it's wonderful to have been able to do another year with you guys. This will be the closeout of my 5th year as an astrologer, and it's just been such a joy to be able to share a spiritual gifting that I feel like has been given to me by God with each of you. So I love you guys. Thank you. You know where to find me if you want a reading, kmoonastro.com. Take great care and bye for now.